Ammunition was gone. Movement was suicidal, but any chance was better than none. Above the jagged cliffs, Elena Voss's scope rested on the enemy machine gunner. A disciplined killer, systematically suppressing every attempt of the allied unit below to return fire. Her professional eyes noted the rhythm of his bursts. The precise coordination with his team, the tactical awareness that betrayed formal military training. This wasn't random. This was lethal orchestration. Time seemed to stretch as Elena exhaled slowly, her finger easing onto the trigger. 3 years of disgrace, exile, and self-doubt funneled into this singular moment. The decision she made now would decide whether 22 soldiers lived or died within the next hour. Her custom. 50 caliber rifle roared, the bullet slicing nearly 2 kilometers through the cold mountain air before finding its mark. The machine gun went silent. Through the scope, she saw the immediate effects. Enemy communication scrambled. Positions shifted. Muzzle flashes attempted to locate the unseen sniper. Elena keyed her radio. "Control, this is Phantom. First target neutralized. SEAL teams should move while the enemy adjusts." Inside the mining complex below, Captain Mason Trent watched the impossible shot unfold. Experienced operators didn't believe in miracles, but they recognized tactical openings when they appeared. "Move! Alpha Team, execute now!" Mason commanded, springing from cover and leading his squad across open ground. Chief Donovan Kane covered the advance with suppressive fire, his M4 spitting rounds to keep enemy heads down. 37-year-old Kane had been Trent's senior advisor for 5 years. A tactical partnership forged through impossible operations. "Bravo Team, cover Alpha! Keep them alive until secondary positions." Petty Officer Leo Anders struggled under the weight of his radio, the only link to support far away. Behind him, medics Gabriel Reyes and Ian Fletcher carried Corporal Eli Lawson, who was bleeding from shrapnel wounds. Lawson remained conscious, rifle in hand, refusing to give up as his team risked everything to save him. "Almost there, Eli," Gabriel encouraged, each step through gunfire a battle against gravity and chaos. Elena's next target appeared through the swirling snowstorm. The SEAL team's breakout had created confusion, but professionals adapted quickly. Her second shot would have to create maximum impact with minimal ammunition. Range: 2,134 meters. Wind gusting. Target: a wooden observation platform housing enemy snipers. The rifle barked again. 2 hostile personnel tumbled 40 feet down the slope, disrupting enemy fire. From his command post, Colonel Richard Hawk's eyes widened as his tactical calculations crumbled. 3 precision shots from impossible distances, each eliminating critical nodes, suggested the presence of a sniper far beyond his expectations. "All positions report status. Prioritize elimination of hostile marksmen," Hawk barked into the radio. But Phantom had already shifted positions, moving through terrain that offered concealment. Mobility was survival, especially against professional counter-snipers. SEAL-7, this is Phantom. Continuing overwatch and engagement. Prepare for coordinated assault once the enemy adapts, Elena transmitted. Marcus Trent's acknowledgement carried the quiet weight of desperation. "Copy, Phantom. Outstanding work. Proceed with your support." Below, the SEALs were scrambling into defensible positions, ammunition still limited, casualties mounting. Sergeant Gabriel Reyes' voice, calm yet strained, relayed the situation. Corporal Lawson's condition worsening. "We can stabilize, but surgical intervention required within 2 hours. Limited supplies." Lawson, pale and trembling, forced himself upright despite blood loss. "Keep moving," he insisted. "I can still cover you." Trent's tactical mind worked quickly. Alpha Team operational, 14 soldiers. Bravo Team, 10. Charlie Team, 7. Ammunition nearly gone. Without resupply, attrition would decimate the team. But Phantom's intervention had already shifted the tactical balance. Elena calculated her next move. The wind changed constantly, snow swirling, temperatures plummeting. Each shot had to count. Through her scope, she observed enemy forces adjusting their formations, snipers repositioning, communications scrambling. Survival depended on precision. Range: 2,387 meters. Target: enemy forward observer coordinating fire against the SEAL positions. Elena's breathing slowed, heart rate dropped, mind narrowed to calculations. Wind, elevation, terrain, bullet drop. A single round had to disrupt coordination, buying precious minutes for the SEALs. The shot fired, cutting through the storm, hitting the observer and collapsing their communication chain. Chaos erupted below as enemy units scrambled to regain control. Forward observer down, enemy coordination disrupted. Phantom out, Elena transmitted, already moving to her tertiary position. Counter-snipers triangulated her previous location immediately. 3 separate firing positions opened up, bullets tearing through rock, shrapnel bouncing around her. 1 .50 caliber round struck the space she had occupied moments ago. Elena dove behind cover, adrenaline spiking. SEAL 7, execute assault now while enemy focused on me, she instructed, moving with a speed that defied the mountain. From a safe distance, Marcus Trent's team moved. Tony Williams led, placing charges on the reinforced doors of the enemy command center. Flashbangs and covering fire created chaos. And then Elena spotted him opposite ridge, winter camouflage, rifle unmistakable, a shadow from her past. "Hello, Elena." His voice crackled through the monitored frequency. "Been a long time. Surrender now, or your old mentor pays." Elena froze. Her father's safety was mentioned. Stone's voice crackled. "Phantom, intel indicates he's alive and secure. Do not let psychological ops break you." A voice, weak but steady, came through her radio. "Kid, I'm okay. Keep going." Relief flooded her. She turned back to the fight, a renewed focus igniting every nerve. The SEALs breached the admin building, heavy resistance awaiting them. Within the hallway slick with blood and smoke, Corporal Eli Lawson, fueled by sheer determination and stimulants, charged down the corridor. 7 bullets pierced him, but he remained upright, drawing enemy fire away from his squad. Elena's next shot, 1,640 meters, took down her mentor's weapon without killing him. Justice, not revenge, guided her finger. Marcus restrained Harrison Mansfield, their strategic target, while Owen stabilized Lawson. Extraction was imminent. Minutes later, helicopters descended. The wounded were evacuated. Elena moved down the mountain at impossible speed, assisting in the field cardiac procedure that would save Lawson's life. By dawn, the mission was over. 38 enemy combatants neutralized, 24 lives saved. Access codes secured. Strategic intelligence preserved. 3 months later, Elena stood at the Pentagon, dress blues pristine, Medal of Honor pinned to her chest. Art Martinez, the man who had once saved her life, watched proudly, arm in a sling from defending his cabin. The mountains waited, her lessons continued. And somewhere far away, a young girl lived because Elena chose humanity over vengeance. The mountains were silent now, blanketed in frost and early morning mist. Elena Vos leaned against the rocky ridge, watching helicopters disappear into the horizon. Her hands shook slightly, not from cold, but from adrenaline finally ebbing. Every nerve in her body was taut from hours of lethal focus. And yet she could not allow herself to rest. Not yet. Corporal Eli Lawson had been stabilized, but the medics warned that he had only narrowly survived. Elena remembered his face as he refused to surrender, as he dragged himself forward under a hailstorm of bullets. It was that relentless will, that courage against impossible odds, that had cemented her respect for him. She wiped snow off her jacket, remembering her father's words. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the resolve to act despite it. She moved down the slope, following Mason Trent and the remaining SEALs to the extraction point. The unit was bruised, exhausted, yet alive, a fragile miracle. Lieutenant Marcus Trent, tall, stoic, and careful with words, fell into step beside her. "You were incredible up there," Marcus said, eyes scanning the horizon for threats. "I've never seen precision like that under fire." Elena shook her head. "Precision isn't enough. Luck saved lives too. And someone had to be ready when chaos hit." Marcus smiled faintly, but there was a shadow behind his expression. "We've all got ghosts. Some of us just hide better." The helicopter blades whipped up snow, their thunderous roar filling the valley. The team began boarding, but Elena's eyes caught movement in the distant tree line. A figure approached, cautious, almost hesitant. It was her father, Richard Vosalive, though visibly shaken. "Elena," he called, voice breaking, "I thought I'd lost you." She ran to him, throwing herself into the embrace of the man who had taught her to aim, to calculate, to survive. For a brief moment, the mountains, the battles, the deaths, they all faded. I'm here, she whispered, her voice catching. I promised I'd come back. Her father's eyes were wet, pride and fear mingling. You've grown into something more than I ever imagined. The helicopter lifted, carrying them away from the mountain, away from chaos, away from death. But Elena's mind could not release the images. The enemy observation posts, the sniper who had once mentored her, the screams echoing across the valley. Her past was alive, persistent, and unfinished. 3 weeks later, at a secure facility in Washington, D.C., Elena reviewed the intelligence gathered during the mission. Blueprints, communications logs, and satellite imagery covered every surface. Colonel Huck's network had been dismantled, but the puzzle was incomplete. Someone had orchestrated this from the shadows, a puppeteer whose strings had yet to be cut. Voss, Marcus Trent said, entering the room with a tablet in hand. We have new intel. The man who trained you, Harrison Mansfield, he's gone off the grid, but he left traces. Elena's fingers tightened around the edge of the table. Traces to what? Locations, communications patterns. He's planning something bigger. This wasn't a simple revenge or mercenary operation. It's a network, and they know you're involved. Her jaw clenched. Elena had faced death on a mountaintop, had outshot trained killers at impossible distances, and yet the thought of unfinished business unsettled her. Then we finish it, she said, calm, cold, and determined. I've already seen what hesitation costs. Marcus hesitated. Are you sure? This isn't a training exercise, Elena. If we move, it's all in. Lives will be lost. I know, she replied. But we've lost too many already. Someone has to make it right. The next operation was meticulous. Elena led a covert strike team into the dense urban sprawl where Mansfield's network had been spotted. Her past training and battlefield intuition guided every decision. Which rooftops offered vantage? Which alleyways allowed silent movement? Which entry points avoided surveillance? Inside an abandoned warehouse, Elena and her team discovered evidence of human trafficking, illegal arms distribution, and encrypted data pointing to international targets. Every file they recovered painted a picture of a criminal empire that was more than just local threats. It was systematic, insidious, and deadly. And then she saw him. Harrison Mansfield, standing at the center of the operation room, older but just as lethal, his eyes locking onto hers. Elena, he said, calm and unnervingly collected. I knew you'd come. You always had the discipline, always the drive. You manipulated, you killed, and you betrayed everyone who trusted you, she said, voice steady despite the adrenaline. It ends here, Harrison. Mansfield smiled, almost regretfully. It ends when one of us dies. That's how it's always been. The fight was instantaneous. Elena moved like a shadow, precise, lethal. Every step, every breath calculated. Her team engaged Mansfield's guards, but he fought with an almost superhuman efficiency. The room was chaos. Glass shattered, bullets ricocheted, and explosions shook the structure. Elena's training and instinct gave her the edge. She outmaneuvered him, exploiting a momentary lapse, a flicker of overconfidence, and disarmed him. Gun pressed to his temple. She stared into the face of the man who had been her mentor, her adversary, her ghost. You taught me everything, she said softly. But you forgot one lesson. Humanity is stronger than vengeance. Mansfield's eyes widened slightly, a fleeting recognition passing over his features. Then, he slumped, unconscious, as Marcus Trent secured him. Hours later, in the Pentagon's debriefing room, Elena stood, metal on her chest, her eyes reflecting the weight of what had been accomplished. The network dismantled, lives saved, justice served. Yet she knew the world remained complicated, imperfect, and perilous. Lieutenant Marcus Trent approached, offering a rare smile. You did more than survive, Elena. You made the impossible possible. Because Elena Voss chose to act when others hesitated. The morning after the operation, the city's skyline gleamed under a pale sun, indifferent to the battles fought in its shadows. Elena Voss walked through the Pentagon's corridors with measured steps, her uniform crisp, but her mind heavy. The medals, commendations, and congratulations that awaited her were meaningless compared to the faces she could not forget. The innocents saved, the lives lost, the the sacrifices that had carved her into who she was now. Colonel Hawk's office doors swung open, and the man himself beckoned her in. His presence was imposing, yet not without respect. Sunlight catching the silver in his hair as he tended to the flowers that had survived winter's harshness. "Elena," he said, voice carrying both relief and pride, "you've done more than I could have imagined, but you look tired." "I am," she admitted, sinking into the old wooden chair he had built himself decades ago. "Not just tired of the missions, but tired of carrying the past with me. Sometimes it feels like I'll never stop fighting." Her father smiled gently, kneeling to plant a new seedling beside the rose bush. "The past will always be there, Elena, but it is not meant to weigh you down forever. You fight not just with weapons, but with your mind, your heart, and your choices. That is what truly matters." For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to relax. The mountains, the missions, the blood, none of it had been wasted. Every challenge had honed her. Every loss had taught her resilience. Every victory had reminded her of the fragility and beauty of life. That evening, Marcus Trent visited unexpectedly. He had grown more reserved over the months, his stoicism a shield for emotions he rarely displayed. Yet, standing on the veranda overlooking the garden, he seemed less a soldier and more a man seeking understanding. "You saved a lot of lives, Elena," he said quietly, "and yet I see the cost in your eyes. Do you ever let yourself feel that it's enough?" Elena considered his words carefully. "I do sometimes. When I see someone safe because of what I've done, when I hear laughter that should have been lost, that is enough for a moment. But the world is relentless. We cannot rest for long." He nodded, understanding without judgment. Silence fell between them, the kind that only shared history and respect can carry. Then he said softly, almost to himself, "Perhaps it is time to teach others what you've learned. Not just tactics or precision, but the heart behind the actions." Her eyes met his, and a faint, hopeful smile appeared. "Yes, that may be my next mission." The following weeks were quieter, but far from idle. Elena began designing a training program that combined her field experience with psychological resilience and ethical decision-making. She invited former operatives, analysts, and mentors to participate, emphasizing that the next generation needed not only skill but judgment, compassion, and courage. Her father often watched from the garden as she worked tirelessly in the training halls. Richard Voss, once a soldier himself, now understood that battles were not always fought on mountaintops. They were also fought in classrooms, in the choices of young operatives, and in the commitment to protect lives even when the world did not notice. One day, after a particularly grueling simulation exercise, Elena stood before her trainees. Their faces were eager, attentive, a reflection of raw potential she recognized from herself years ago. "Remember," she said, voice steady, commanding yet gentle, "skill without judgment is dangerous. Courage without compassion is hollow. You must carry both into every mission, every challenge, every moment of decision. That is how you survive and how you honor those who cannot." The students nodded, absorbing every word. For Elena, it was more than training. It was redemption, closure, and the promise that even in the darkest shadows, light could be cultivated, shared, and preserved. Late one night, Elena stood on the rooftop of her father's home, gazing at the stars. The mountains in the distance were faint silhouettes against the sky. Memories of the missions, the enemies, the friends lost and saved, drifted through her mind like fragments of a storm she had weathered. Yet beneath it all was a quiet, unwavering truth. She had faced darkness and emerged not broken, but transformed. Her battles had forged clarity, her losses had taught empathy, and her victories had given hope. And in that stillness, Elena allowed herself one small acknowledgement of peace. The world remained dangerous, imperfect, and unpredictable. But she had found her place within it, not as a mere survivor, but as a guardian, a teacher, and a woman who had chosen to turn chaos into courage. As the wind whispered through the trees, carrying the distant laughter of children and the hum of city life, Elena Voss closed her eyes, feeling the weight of victory settle, not as a burden, but as a mantle she was ready to carry forward. The shadows of the past remained, but now they were no longer chains. They were reminders of strength, resilience, and the enduring power of choice. The first light of dawn crept over the horizon, brushing the city in gold and amber. Elena Voss stood at the edge of the training grounds, the crisp morning air carrying both the scent of dew and the faint hum of activity from the city below. The young operatives she had been mentoring were already at work, their movements precise, disciplined, and driven by the determination she had nurtured in them. She watched them silently, her mind reflecting on the path that had brought her here. From the shadowed valleys of the mountains to the tension-filled streets of covert operations, every challenge had carved her into a woman who understood that courage was not just about confrontation, it was about choice, restraint. Later that morning, Elena received an unexpected visitor, Marcus Trent. His expression was measured, as always, but there was a softness in his eyes that suggested a rare vulnerability. "I came to see the final session," he said, glancing at the trainees executing a coordinated exercise with precision. "I wanted to see the legacy you're leaving behind." She turned to face him fully, the breeze catching strands of her hair. "It feels strange," she admitted. "After so many years of chasing shadows, it's quiet, but in this quiet there's clarity. I see that what I've fought for wasn't just about survival, it was about creating a world where others can live and act with conscience, skill, and courage. Watching you now, I realize you didn't just survive, Elena. You transformed." Their eyes met, a silent acknowledgement passing between them, a shared history of battles fought, choices made, and the unspoken understanding that some connections are forged in fire and shadow, never to be broken. As the day progressed, Elena guided her trainees through a final series of exercises, designed to test not only their physical abilities but their judgment under pressure. Simulated crises, ethical dilemmas, and moral choices challenged every instinct, demanding clarity and courage. One trainee, a young woman named Lila, hesitated during a scenario that required swift decision-making. Elena stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Remember, it's not just speed that matters, it's the choice you make in that moment. Think of the lives affected, the consequences, and act with purpose." Lila nodded, taking a deep breath, and executed the maneuver flawlessly. Elena's heart swelled with quiet pride. This was what she had fought for, not medals, not accolades, but the creation of capable, conscientious individuals who would carry the torch forward when she could no longer stand on the front lines. Warm glow of twilight, shadows stretching long and calm across the lawn. She sank into her father's old chair, letting the stillness wash over her. "You've changed the lives of many," Richard said softly, watering the last of the roses. "But have you changed your own?" Elena considered the question, watching the sun dip below the horizon. "I have," she admitted. I've learned that strength isn't measured by how many battles you win or enemies you defeat. It's measured by how you bear the weight of your choices, how you nurture life, and how you allow yourself to grow despite the scars." Her father nodded, placing a hand over hers. "Then perhaps your greatest victory isn't behind you, it's still ahead." Night fell, and the city lights flickered to life. Elena stood on the veranda, gazing at the skyline that had once seemed so hostile, so overwhelming. Memories of the mountains, the missions, and the faces of those she had saved and lost mingled with the quiet rhythm of life continuing below. A soft knock drew her attention. Marcus stepped onto the veranda, carrying 2 cups of tea. "I thought you might want company," he said, offering one to her. She accepted it, warmth radiating from the cup and the gesture. "You always have impeccable timing," she replied lightly, a rare smile touching her lips. He joined her at the railing, silence stretching comfortably between them. Then, with a quiet certainty, he said, "Whatever comes next, Elena, you'll face it as you always have, with courage, clarity, and heart." "And if I falter?" she asked, teasing but serious. "You will not," he replied simply, "because you have already proven that strength is not about avoiding fear, but facing it head-on and teaching others to do the same." The stars above seemed to shimmer in agreement, casting their light over the city and the quiet mountains beyond. Elena felt a sense of completion, a harmony between past struggles and future possibilities. She had walked through darkness, faced impossible odds, and emerged not only unbroken but refined, ready to shape the world in her own way. Before retiring for the night, Elena penned a note in her personal journal, a ritual she had maintained since her earliest missions. The battles will never cease, but the legacy of choice, courage, and compassion can endure. I am no longer defined by the shadows I have faced, but by the light I cultivate. Every life touched, every lesson taught, every decision made, these are the true victories. And the horizon ahead is vast, waiting for those who dare to shape it with integrity. She closed the journal, the weight of her experiences resting gently in her heart. The mountains still loomed in the distance, silent witnesses to her journey, but she no longer feared them. They were markers of resilience, reminders of challenges overcome, and symbols of the life she had forged for herself and those she now guided. As sleep finally claimed her, Elena Voss dreamed not of missions in shadows, but of possibilities of students she had inspired, lives she had touched, and a future where courage and compassion could coexist in a world often unkind, yet endlessly capable of transformation. The dawn would rise again, as it always did. And with it, Elena would stand ready not as a lone warrior, but as a guide, a teacher, and a woman who had embraced her destiny with unwavering resolve.